What's going on, guys?
How we doing, bro? You all right?
Good. Yep.
Glad to hear it. You gonna get any go to any tournament first round games today or tomorrow?
Nah, too busy. Got a lot going on, man.
I heard that. I heard that.
Hey, this other one doing me. What are we doing with the other person?
I don't know who that is.
Offsides with Mark Ryan. 3 to 7 on the Fan Upstate.
Easter's on its way, and I wasn't going to let this year's celebration have empty baskets. That's why I'm so glad I went to Kohl's.
Rashad, do you know who that other guy was that just came in?
No.
Okay, I don't either. I don't know who that was. Some like random dude just popped up in the stream.
Yeah.
That was wild.
No idea. Unless it was Dave.
No.
Back on again. All right, 20 seconds.
I don't know who that is. I don't think I had any. I mean, I know I didn't schedule anybody else. So.
From brands like Charlotte Tilbury and Dyson. Shop the Ulta Beauty semi-annual beauty event online, in-store, or try pickup today. Now through March 28th. Ulta Beauty. The possibilities are beautiful. Conditions apply.
Always streaming wherever you are on the Odyssey app. Like the Fan Upstate.
The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. It is the Fan Upstate. I am Rob Brown, branded in for the great one, Lonzo. Today it is Thursday. You know what that means. Time to talk a little Carolina Panther football. And to do that, we welcome in one half of the Panther Nation podcast. You can find them on Twitter at Panther Nation PC. But more importantly, make sure you go to YouTube. Make sure you search for and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast. No better spot for Panther discussion than the Panther Nation podcast. My guy, Rashad Beard in the house. What's up, fella?
What's going on, guys? Happy Thursday. Yeah, we're here. Let's get it.
Yeah, we are. Where we are. Listen, it's basketball season. We've got the
Christmas
tournament
basketball
starting up today. We got the tournament underway coming up here in a little over 3 hours at this point. But there ain't no off season in the NFL, Rashad Beard. We know that. So let's catch up with where we are. Let's start with your grade on the free agents. I don't know that the Panthers are done. They added another player, tried to go for 2 the other day. One had a change of heart, went back to Denver. Most of the guys you're bringing on now, I'm not going to say roster fillers. They can contribute in certain spots. A lot of special teams guys are making moves right now. But just your overall thought on the free agency period and the trades the Panthers have made over the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, I give it, if I had to give it a grade, I give it a solid B. I think what could lift it to an A would be to add another edge rusher. Right now, we're a little thin. I know we signed DJ Wanham and Clavon Chason, but none of those give me the feels in regards to replacing Brian Burns. So I think we need to shore that up, and that could happen in the draft. But we definitely need some help. But I'm gonna give it a solid B. You did an amazing job. You signed 2 guards to protect Bryce Young. That was priority number 1. We talked about that all offseason. Going into the draft, we knew we had to bolster the offensive line. And so that's what we did in the first day. Got Robert Hunt, Damian Lewis. Love those 2 picks. And, you know, we've got some depth back there, too. We signed another offensive lineman, Yash Nijman, who played for the Packers. Solid rotational offensive tackle. Give us some swing tackle right there. Love the David Moore signing. Wide receiver depth there. Deontay Johnson, loved that trade. I think he was undervalued up in Pittsburgh, and now he's going to come here and have an opportunity to show off his true skill set. So solid B, man. I like what we've done here in the Carolina Panthers this free agency period.
Now, as you know, the Panthers have had a relatively quiet Use your quotes. Quiet offseason so far. Can you tell us what is the vibe going on around the town right now, knowing what we have seen the Panthers do? Can you see like enthusiasm or what's the feeling going on around there?
Yeah, it depends. It depends on because there's a lot of people that get attached to players, and so when you get rid of one of their players, I mean, we've seen it. So I think a lot of fans are dejected. When you get rid of guys like Christian McCaffrey, you get rid of guys like DJ Moore, you get rid of guys like now Brian Burns. There's some dejection going on. If I had to sum it up in one word, but at the end of the day, man, there is some excitement, a little bit of excitement around the coaching staff. I can only speak from my perspective. I think there is a little bit of hope, as one says in the chat. But I like it. I think we're heading in the right direction. You've got some real direction in regards to free agency period. So I'm cautiously optimistic, and I think we're heading in the right direction.
Let's talk a little bit more because I see the comment from Deontay down in the chat. He said, if you're adding taxes, it's to see that Brian Burns trade was terrible. Can't blame the front office, but only getting a second. Yikes. Rashad, we talked a little bit about this last week, and I'm still seeing the comments about it. The thought I've had the whole time is you got the best you were going to get. All right. Everybody else in the league ain't stupid. They saw the writing on the wall, the possibility, not probability, possibility that Brian Burns was getting tagged, coming back, and somehow asking for less money just didn't exist. And the writing was on the wall. So honestly, I think a second round is about as good as you're going to get, predominantly because that's with teams bidding against each other for this guy. Yeah, it sucks. But the NFL is a business. It's an industry. It grinds on as it ever does. To me, that was kind of the moment. Not just the hiring of Dave Canales, not Idzik, not any of that. That was the moment that I was starting to say to Panthers fans, you've got to understand, bro, this is a franchise reboot. You are the DC movie universe right now, and now James Gunn's in there. It's reboot time for everybody and everything.
Yeah, and I agree with that, but it's difficult for the average fan to swallow that pill, especially when you've been franchise rebooting for the past 3 years, right? You've seen now Christian McCaffrey, franchise reboot. You've seen now DJ Moore, franchise reboot. And so there's folks that are a little dejected when it comes to getting – and I agree with you 1,000%. I think it was the right thing to do. I think that, your defense is going to be able to still, do well without Brian Burns, given the way that Evero runs his defense. He doesn't need a premier pass rusher, and I think we're going to be fine. So they had to make a decision to let him go, and $30 million was just too rich for the Carolina Panthers, and you had to do what you had to do. So I'm not mad at it, but from the average fan, they don't see that. They don't understand the numbers behind it. They don't understand the future view behind it. And so I can understand from their perspective as well why it's a bit frustrating.
Do you see a big signing still coming, like Jadeveon Clowney? I know it was reported recently he was meeting with the Panthers. Do you see them maybe signing him to like a 1-year veteran deal?
Yeah, I see us attempting to get Clowney. The thing with Clowney is that he is not a fan of the offseason workouts. He's not a fan of OTAs. He's not a fan of training camp. So he typically, when he is in his free agent period, he typically signs very late. So what does that do to the Carolina Panthers? That puts in a situation where we have to draft a guy because we can't go into the season with Clavon Chason, DJ Wanham, and Amari Barno and DJ Johnson. That's not the group you want to go into the season with. So you've got to add some talent there. So we're probably going to draft a guy and hope that we can get a Clowney. I think Clowney fits exactly what we're trying to do. Again, not a premier pass rusher, but very good against the run. And I think that's where Evero kind of it makes his money. So I think that, yes, they do want to make another signing, and I hope that it's Clowney, but we'll see.
I mean, he's no Chase Young, Rashad.
Well, I think that, of course you're going to say that.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, but I mean, Chase Young coming off a neck procedure. I mean, who wants that? So you have fun with that. You overpaid and you got a neck injury. So you have fun with that.
Rashad, I mean, I can't not do it. Come on, dude. Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. I mean, at this point, we're pretty much just all looking down the barrel to the draft, right? Like there's still a couple of big name free agents out there. Mike Williams off the board. Didn't really ever feel like he was going to be legitimately in play after the trade for Deontay to Pittsburgh. Thought that had probably been a little too much money wrapped up there when you are sitting with 2 early second round picks. Has there been any change in belief or heart or whatever from you about what the 2 second round picks turn into for Carolina?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because we have a couple positions of need. When you talk about, you still want to look for a center, right? So if Jackson Powers-Thompson happens to drop to second round, he's at the top of that second round, you want to take him, right? That's BPA pick. You slide him in a center, and that's going to be, our offensive line is going to be very good. But at the same time, there's going to be great wide receiver talent. Now, is there enough wide receiver talent to where you can get one in the third round? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. But also, we need an edge rusher. As we stated earlier, that group that you have, DJ Wanham, Chason, and company, I don't know if I feel comfortable with that. So edge rushers got to be on that list. And also cornerback. I know we signed Dane Jackson, excuse me. But I'm not sure if he's that, a guy I want to, put all my eggs in the basket of CB2. So I could see I could see cornerback, I could see edge rusher, I could see wide receiver, and I could see interior offensive line. So I don't know. The good news is that we have 2 picks in the top of that second round. So there's a lot of opportunity. You could trade back and acquire more picks. I don't know. It's going to be interesting. The good news is that also that we set ourselves up for us not to have to be able to reach for anything, right? We're in a good enough situation where we're not desperate per se, but we're good enough to kind of get along with it and maybe just take take BPA literally. So I like the way things are sitting right now.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. Between here and the end of April, I mean, obviously, like we mentioned, we're keeping an eye out on the handful of free agents. There's probably 4, 5, 6 good, I'm not going to say great, but good offensive linemen that are still out there that could plug a gap. Couple of wide receivers. I mean, maybe if he's interested, maybe you make a pass at an Odell Beckham Jr. or somebody like that. Between here and April, aside from Jadeveon Clowney, are there any names that you would personally like to see Dave Canellis and Dan Morgan make a pass at?
Man, I think the biggest one right now is probably going to be Clowney. From a wide receiver standpoint, I'm not really, because I believe in this draft and how deep the draft is, I'm not really, concerned or overly like, hey, let's go get a wide receiver. Like, we don't need Odell Beckham. Like, I don't think that's a major, somebody I'm going after. Linebackers, interesting. I know we signed a couple of guys, but you may want to, we lost Luvu. I know we got Jewel here, but I don't know. That may be something you want to take a look at in cornerback. Is there any good cornerbacks, any solid cornerbacks out there? I don't have any names on the top of my head. But yeah, I'm looking at free agent corners and edge rushers for sure. Top of that list has got to be Clowney. And I'm not sure who else is out there at the moment, but it's Clowney or bust for me. Not really, to be honest.
There is an interesting conversation going on right now over in the chat right now. There was a question mark about Bryce Young and his conversations with Dave Canellis. Canellis said at the combine when he spoke to the media, Rashad, that for him, the priority right now is building that relationship. He doesn't want to enter the camp in a couple of weeks after the draft. Don't want to enter the camp with a guy in BY who doesn't know him. They're not familiar. Doesn't want to be the guy who's just yelling at Bryce, but more the guy that Bryce knows is trying to make him in the offense better. Then you had the response there that, hey, BY is not really a big media guy, right? Like, outside of the mandatory postgame pressers, we haven't really heard a lot or seen a lot, at least down here. I don't know if it's different up there in Charlotte. It has been a quiet offseason for Bryce Young. I think partially attributed to what a failure last year was, partially attributed to the guy's just kind of a quiet guy. Have you heard, seen, had any thoughts about Bryce Young as an offseason guy as we get towards to what is, to me, definitively a prove-it year for Bryce Young in year 2?
Yeah, I haven't heard much from Bryce, and I think that's a good thing. I mean, I don't want him all out there. I don't need to hear. What do I need to hear from him? Like, I think that, he got his butt whooped last year, and I think he's just looking for this reset, looking forward to this reset as much as the fans are. And so I think, as long as him and Canellis are on the same page, and I believe in Canellis, I believe he's going to be able to get the system right for Bryce. So, yeah, there's nothing really that I need to hear from Bryce or need to see from Bryce. I've seen what I need to see at Alabama. I've seen what I need to see last offseason when he was prepping to come in for his rookie season. So I know Bryce has the talent. There's nothing I need to see or hear from him. I just would like to see it come the season and preseason and regular season that this system is doing right by him. And I believe that Canales is going to do that. So, yeah, quiet. I like it that way. I don't need to see my guy out there, all in front of the cameras, and I'm cool with that. I'm good with that. We already got a quarterback. We got Cam Newton. We got enough quarterbacks in front of cameras that we need to go back and see. So we're cool with that. We're good with that. Let Bryce cook and let him prepare for the season. So I'm good on that.
All right, last one, and then we'll let you go, Rashad. I have told you, to me, wide receiver in the second round. I don't care if it's 33 or 39. It's just going to depend on who's available at wide receiver, who's going to be available at other positions. From what we understand, there was a pretty decent contingent of Panthers admin that was at South Carolina Pro Day. There is a cat down there by the name of Xavier Legette. Talk to the folks here in the upstate in South Carolina country. I think Xavier Legette is a legitimate possibility. I think it's going to depend on other names like Keon Coleman, the both of the kids down out of Texas, Franklin out of Oregon. There are other names that are kind of right there in that mix. Legette kind of strikes me, though, as a dude who, if he's brought to Carolina, will kind of feel the weight of being a Carolina guy playing for Carolina. I don't know if that intangible is enough for me to move him up the board over those guys. But then he opened his mouth and he talked like Randy Moss, and I was just all in on my boy immediately, Rashad. Immediately.
Yeah, that's funny, man. I had never heard him speak until that moment. And, yeah, he definitely has Carolina in his blood for sure. He's got the accent. I like Legette. I think he has a talent that we don't quite have on the roster just yet. And I think he's going to be able to. And again, the beautiful thing about this is that we don't need to force him out there. You've got Deontay Johnson, you've got Thielen, you got Mingo, and so I think there's some talent around him that can help develop him. And I like him. I like him a lot. I think he's a very good wide receiver. The production, he had one solid year of production in Carolina, and so I think that there's some question marks there. But the talent, the intangibles are there. He's a big dude. He's running guys over. He's got the speed. I like him. I would not mind having him play for the Carolina Panthers.
My man, primetime Papa, or excuse me, yeah. Let's see. No, Mark Burke said Legette is country AF. He will be a dog 1,000%. That is the first dude, Rashad Beard, maybe ever, that I was like, like I could see him there. And then he talked. And I immediately was like, go get this guy. 33, 39, trade up to 22. I don't give a damn. Make sure that dude's in next year. Just on talk. I want him on my radio show tomorrow, bro.
Definitely got the Randy Moss in him for sure. That's pretty funny. That he definitely is country, man. That is a very interesting accent.
Rashad Beard from the Panther Nation podcast, again on Twitter at Panther Nation PC, but make sure you search for and subscribe to the Panther Nation podcast on YouTube at Panther Nation podcast. Rashad, my guy, good to talk to you, buddy. Talk to you next week, brother.
Yeah, appreciate you guys. Thank you so much for having me.
You got it. To the Panther Nation podcast army, appreciate you guys stopping by. The Rob Brown Show rolls on after this. It is the Fan Upstate. Sports Flash. The ACC is fired back against Clemson, hitting them with a countersuit in